Great. Thank you, Natrice, for starting the recording. This meeting is being recorded. Good morning, everyone. This is Daniel Smithwick from the Fab Foundation. 9 o'clock here in Boston. We are excited to share this webinar with you with our special guest, Miguel Valenzuela, and his PancakeBot. I'm going to start us off with just a few slides just to give some updates on the Scopes project, let you know where we're at, and then I'm going to hand it over to Sonia from the Fab Foundation, Sonia Pryor-Jones, and she will introduce Miguel, and then Miguel will do his presentation for about 30 minutes or so, and we'll allow for 15 to 20 minutes or so for questions, for Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can use the chat window to type them in, and we can get through them that way. Or you can also, I believe, raise your hand or kind of indicate that you have a question at the end, and we can host those as well. So let's get started here. Whoop, I can't. There we go. This is us. This is the Scopes team. Sonia Pryor-Jones, Melvin LaPrade, myself, and Natrice Gaskins. We've been working on the Scopes project for 2 to 3, maybe almost 3 years now, in various stages of development, and we're excited to be offering webinars like these. And we had a nice turnout in the last webinar with the community of practice to meet some of the community members. And we will be doing that again soon, so stay tuned if you're interested in sharing some of your work. We would like to talk with you about the next community of practice webinar. But that's us. As of yesterday, we are up to about 867 community members in the community. That means people who have signed up on the website and created profiles on the website. About, I want to say, 50 to 60 folks have been actively contributing content. So we're excited to meet those community members as we move forward. All in all, we have about 110 published digital fabrication standards aligned lessons that we offer for free on the site. It's all open source, remixable content that we encourage folks to download and try out in their classrooms and makerspaces, and then reshare what they've done, any kind of modifications they've done to the lessons. We now have 5 special collections, including the one that you're going to see today, the PancakeBot collection, along with the GE Brilliant Careers collection, Chevron STEM Award collection, the Black Panther, Inspired collection, and the Mental Wellness collection from IU1. Whoop. I lost my presentation there. Try that again. There we go. We have a small but growing number of monthly users, but we're most excited about just the breadth of our audience, of you all who are contributing to this community. We have visitors from over 440 cities from around the world. So it's pretty neat when you think about the global impact that even a small number of folks can have, but when you distribute them, it's a pretty exciting opportunity to be a part of. We also want to point out some resources on the website, including a 33-page playbook that writes that we write about some of our previous work over 2017 and 18, sharing lessons of our experience of integrating digital fabrication into the classroom. We also offer Fab I Can statements, learning progression statements that allow you to benchmark students across different categories of digital fabrication, including design, programming, electronics, modeling, fabrication, and safety. Those are both available on the site. You can see the URLs at the bottom if you'd like to see more of those. So moving on to today's topic and special guest, we are going to be inviting Miguel to join us here shortly to show his not only his invention, the PancakeBot invention, but also some of the lessons that he has created for the Scopes platform that integrates his PancakeBot into classroom lesson content. So here is where I will pass it off to Sonia to introduce Miguel a little bit further and talk about where we're going with this in the future.
Thanks, Dan. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And happy holidays for those who are preparing to celebrate. We're really excited today to feature Miguel and not only the PancakeBot as a machine, but his entire story. This is really a story about invention, curiosity. It's a story about kids and their parents, and how we can foster STEM curiosity even in our own homes that can eventually go out and impact the rest of the world. So we're super excited to have Miguel here with us. Before I completely turn things over to Miguel, I do want to make mention to a couple of things just because I noticed in the list of participants a couple of new names. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the work of the Fab Foundation or the Fab Lab Network, first and foremost, we welcome you into our community, and we're really glad that you decided to join us today to learn a little bit more about digital fabrication and what that tool and technology can mean for the world, but also to get to know us and to connect with us. Scopes is a research-based project out of the Fab Foundation. The Fab Foundation is a nonprofit that grew out of the Center for Bits and Atoms at MIT. And our work is very simple. We want to democratize digital fabrication. And we primarily want to do that by partnering with people and communities all around the world to make this technology accessible, and to use this technology in things like education, entrepreneurship, and community development. And the Scopes project is just another extension of all of that, with a very specific focus on K-12, or what some of us call around the world primary and secondary education, and really working with our youngest people around the world and using this technology and the approach of digital fabrication to help invoke all kinds of learning and excitement for them, both in traditional learning spaces and informal learning spaces. And through the Scopes project, we believe we can best do that if we connect our network and our community with more and more classroom teachers and students around the world. And that's in short what we've been trying to do with this project. And Dan shared a lot about the website, so I won't go into that. But in addition to the online, we also have the offline work. And as we go into 2020, we're super excited about our focus around engagement. And we'll be doing a lot more webinars and a lot more things coming out to our individual Fab Labs around our community to share these practices and to support all of our Fab Labs as much as we can, and other fabbers and makers, in how they are supporting teachers in schools and integrating digital fabrication into their arsenal, if you will, of things to help kids learn and move forward. So we're really excited about all of that with the Scopes project. Now back to Miguel. He doesn't really need much of a great introduction. I mean, this gentleman and his family have been doing a lot of things that are all about the core of digital fabrication and making. That's hacking, that's having fun, that's generating excitement. For those of you who are not familiar with the PancakeBot, this machine is a beautiful and not only fun way to get people excited about pancakes, which we all love, but also another entry point for people who typically might not think about digital fabrication tools, might not think that they belong to a community like ours, where they can get really their hands dirty with digital fabrication and making. Miguel's own personal story, as a Mexican American with a family who got into STEM, is a very powerful one. And he took that story all the way to the White House, preparing pancakes for our former president, and has toured around the world. He's now in Norway, where he's building an amazing innovation center, and also has been working with the Fab Foundation for a few months now to do a couple of things. One, he's worked with the Scopes team to develop a special collection that we're going to be debuting today in honor of the webinar that he's doing with us. So people will be able to go onto the Scopes website and pull off a couple of amazing lessons that Miguel developed with the Scopes team that you can use with your PancakeBot. And we're also really challenging you all not only to use them, but to take advantage of the remix feature on the Scopes website and to go remix these amazing lessons that Miguel has put together. Miguel first joined our community at our Fab 15 event back in Egypt, where he had a great time hacking and making with the people who were there. And then in 2020, we're looking forward to a campaign with Miguel where we're going to be putting out as many pancake bots as we possibly can across our community for teachers and students to use and have a great time with this novel tool. So with that in mind, I am going to turn things over to Miguel, who does a much better job of telling his story than I do, and you'll see it all through his enthusiasm around the work that he does. Thank you for joining us today, Miguel.
Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me clearly? How's the lighting? I think I'm looking at it. It looks a little bit dark, so I apologize there. Let's see here. Well, first of all, thank you very much, everybody, for coming to the webinar today and helping us, I guess, launch or bring PancakeBot to what it was originally meant to, which for me was education and to inspire and help other people to get into STEM and get into STEAM kind of thing, and a couple of new acronyms that I'm going to throw in there. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with regards to the presentation. And let's see. Okay. Let's see, do we have that? Are we sharing that?
Yep,
can everybody see that? Let's see here. Are we sharing that screen there?
Yep, looks good, Miguel.
Okay, great then. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down. Sorry for that. Okay, so essentially the webinar is going to cover, going to highlight some of these things, my personal bio, the PancakeBot story, going to go over some of the specifications about how the PancakeBot works, and essentially talk about why it fits into a STEM kind of curriculum. And even with food science, obviously the food element of it is important. Then we're going to go ahead and demo, do a demo of the Scopes DF lessons. And these are two lessons that Sonia had mentioned that I helped, two of several lessons that we created. And so then the last thing is to talk about the beyond pancake mindset. And that's something I'll discuss a little bit more there. So my favorite quote is from Walt Disney, and maybe it's because I partially grew up in La Habra, California, and we got to see the fireworks every day during the summertime from our house of Disneyland. And of course, it's around here, however, we don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. And for me, when I heard that, and actually it was from Meet the Robinsons, the idea of keep moving forward, that concept. And for us, the PancakeBot is a story of keeping, constantly moving forward with it. Even now, as we are trying to revamp it and do something new with PancakeBot, we're still moving forward. And so to me, this is a very inspirational quote. A little personal bio here is that I currently live in Norway. I'm married with a wonderful woman named Rooney, and I have 3 young ladies, and Lily, and Charlotte. And Lily actually was the one that inspired the PancakeBot. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm a professional registered engineer in California. And so that means that as part of my studies, undergrad, I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I was a graduate of the Bioresource and Agricultural Engineering Department. So you can see the connection between engineering and food. Actually, I was very inspired at a young age by a machine that was a pneumatic machine that chopped off the heads of strawberries. It was a prototype that was developed for students, and I thought it was so neat that technology could be used to do something for food, and that we could enjoy the fruits of, literally the fruits of that labor. with it. So that was very inspiring. So the connection between food and technology, math and science was integrated into me or planted in me at a very young age when I was in high school. I am a patent holder, which is the patent system for PancakeBot. And I have about 8 years of marketing and trade show experience, and I'm a maker, from the bottom of my heart. So the PancakeBot story is something that can be summed up with this line right here. Papa's going to build a pancake robot out of Legos. Actually, it's pancake machine, it's pancake robot out of Legos. And essentially, we had just moved to Norway, and my daughter Lily and I we were inside, and I was coming from San Diego in October of 2010. And what had happened was that there was about 1 meter of snow outside, and I was reading Make magazine, and it was an article called Blockheads, written by Bob Parks, and it talked about prototyping with Lego. And Lily asked me, "What are you doing, Dad?" And I said, "I'm reading about a guy named Adrian Marshall that made a pancake stamping machine out of Legos." And she's 3.5, and she heard this thing, and then she turned to her sister Maya and said, "Papa's going to build a pancake machine out of Legos," or pancake robot. It's been a while now. And so Maya did this little dance. She was about 1.5 years old, or 1.5 years, and then it was like, wow, she was very excited about this. And so from there, PancakeBot essentially was born. And so I have a timeline right here that kind of talks about it. Essentially, the birth of PancakeBot, like I said, was in fall of 2010. And that was the Lego version. Let's see here. We can have this, this portion of the screen. This was actually the first prototype. And this is a girdle that came from the United States, and it was 110 volts, so I had to use a transformer. And you can see how the PancakeBot essentially was pumping from a ketchup bottle. One of the challenges that I had or that I gave myself, was to make this thing with as many Legos as possible, 100% Lego, except for the part that would hold the batter. I thought if we can make it out of everything Lego, it'll make it accessible for a lot of people. And so this was a NXT, I think it's a NXT Lego brick, and with the pneumatic system here. And so the pneumatic system, these older generation Lego sets only had 3 motors. So the challenge was how to create a CNC machine essentially with 3 motors, where you have 2 that are used for the XY axis. And let's see here. I think right here we can watch the original video.
Can you just push the button to make some pancakes? Right here. Let me see, right there.
And this is Maya. She's about 1.5 years old. Two years old here. Now, my goal was to try and make 2 pancakes that were identical. And this was the goal, because I figured if I could make a machine that made 2 identical pancakes, I had a robot that was doing what it was supposed to do. The music I did on an old Yamaha keyboard that we had. You can see I'm adjusting a little bit of the nozzle there, cheating a little bit. And so there you go, 2 perfect Mickey Mouse pancakes. And then Lily came in. This is her at 3 to 4 years old there. And she is, I wanted to make her a pancake truck. There's a couple of cuts there and stuff like that, but let's see. That was just to challenge myself if I could do different designs. And these were all written by hand, literally on graph paper, and then transferred over to coordinates through an Excel spreadsheet, because my programming experience was not very good. So I'll go ahead and get back to our presentation here. Oops. And trying to make this a little full screen here, but anyways, you can see from this picture right here, we advanced the design in 2013, so it's still out of 99% of Legos, and we did a little bit more work on getting some better designs. This is actually at a maker fair in Norway, and then this is a picture of the acrylic prototype, and I'll show that in a second. And again, let's see here. Dan, for some reason I'm not getting full screen on this, but my apologies for the tabs on there.
It looks good.
Okay, great. So then in 2011, when we launched this video, it became a viral sensation. Jerry Ellsworth, who was a maker, the famous maker at the time, tweeted it on Facebook, on Twitter. Can't tweet on Facebook, my apologies. And she essentially, I had so many hits, I had an anxiety attack, because for me it was just exciting to see that my heroes were acknowledging some of my work. In 2014, after going through several maker fairs and developing the prototype, we developed this acrylic prototype that ended up taking us to the White House. And this is where the real neat story about the Fab Foundation ties in. In order for me to make the acrylic prototype that we see over here, I had to find a laser cutter. And being over here in Norway, it's difficult where I was living to find a laser cutter within an hour from me that was affordable. So this gentleman right here, Jens Divek, he had had a fab lab over here. And consequently, he had met President Obama's grandmother in Kenya and made these beautiful slippers of President Obama's hope picture. And when Jens found out that I was going to the White House, he said, wouldn't it be funny if you were able to take slippers to President Obama with a picture of his grandmother holding the slippers of Obama on it? And I just said yes. I didn't even think about it. And so then the next thing you know, he's making these slippers one day before we left, and we ended up delivering them and making pancakes, President Obama pancakes, at the White House, where we got to meet some wonderful people there. And this was, I think, I remember Neil from the Fab Foundation coming over, and I said, follow the pancake smell. And he came down with his entourage, and I gave him this box. He turned around, and next thing you know, President Obama apparently accepted this as an official gift. And that's really a huge story, to go from a Lego creation that it looks like something that's taped together to all of a sudden presenting at the White House and making these pancakes right here for President Obama. It was very surreal, and I think it really sells or talks about the story of just fabrication and ideas, and also talks about why it's important for kids, for us to work with kids and help them go to that next level. In 2015 and 2018, we essentially went into the consumer world, and we raised $500,000 on Kickstarter. And here are two celebrities that we met as part of this. We made pancakes for Adam Savage, and then in 2016 we made pancakes for Steve Wozniak in Oslo, 700 Steve Wozniak pancakes. So that's kind of part of the travels. And this year, with the MIT Fab Foundation, we just went to Egypt recently, and we made these little pyramid pancakes, but also we got to show the PancakeBot off and explore other things with it. We printed sand, and we printed a wide variety of things. This actual pyramid is flexible edges with a hard triangle in there, and it allows you to fold up the design into a 3D printed pancake. There's a discussion between people whether pancakes are 2D or 3D. The PancakeBot prints pancakes, and I'll let everybody figure out whether they're 2D or 3D, but they're still tasty. And that's, I think, the important thing. Okay, here. So let's see here. Excuse me here. Okay, so really quick, I want to highlight the role of PancakeBot in STEAM and STEM. What I've come up with this idea that when we incorporate food into this STEAM and STEM field, we end up with something called Feast M. Feast M doesn't really sound that great, so I guess we could cut it down to Feast Mmm. And essentially, the idea is that by incorporating food, we incorporate the concept of adding a touch of humanity to engineering. Art already does that, but by being able to print something out and eat it, it essentially allows you to now feel that connection between technology. And we've seen that more in agriculture, we've seen that more in machines that help people. And this is why I think, one of the reasons that PancakeBot has a very interesting role in this STEAM STEM aspect. The other aspects, the engineering, the art, the science, and the technology, we'll cover some of these right now in the lesson plan for scopes, and I'll go ahead and go in there and show you how these things can be incorporated with PancakeBot. So there we go, Feast. All right, so let's hear. For the Scopes DF lessons, we have put together several lessons, but these are the 5 ones that we're mostly are completed. I think I have to do a couple of changes on some of these things. But the first one is tessellated pancakes. And this is definitely a help with a gentleman named Kevin Lee, a professor from Minnesota, who inspired me to work with Tessellations, tessellated pancakes, because he created this beautiful tessellation software. Bytes to Bytes is essentially a the lesson plan talks about going from G code to making square pancakes and writing your own G code by hand. Again, there's the combination of mathematics, there's a combination of machines and technology, and also engineering. The 3D printed extensions. Python Turtle you can add extensions to the PancakeBot. Python Turtle Spirograph Pancakes. This is being able to program and write code to create your own spirograph pancakes. And then Pancaketronics is a lesson that allows you to mix up different recipes and see what is the optimal batter recipe for a variety of different shapes. Now, Dan, can we go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here. And then we want to go ahead and go to the Scopes lesson plan right there. Okay, so let's see here.
Collection.
Now, if we go look at, are we going to look at the collection here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll point out the PancakeBot collection lives in the lessons menu right here at the bottom. Here's the collection page, and then here's the first 3 lessons, and then these 4th and 5th lessons. Go ahead, Miguel.
Okay, great then. Let's see here.
You want me to click through one of these?
Well, let me take it up now, because what happened is my link was not working. So let me go ahead and share that so I can help navigate through that. So I appreciate that. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody again. And I believe it is this one right here. Okay, great then. Okay, so thanks, Dan. So this is fantastic, by the way, to have a PancakeBot collection as part of the Fab Foundation or MIT Fab Foundation organization, because, like I said, being that the prototype originally started from a Fab Foundation, the second prototype, I really feel like it's coming back home. So thank you again to Sherry Lassiter and their team for this. This is Lily, actually, when we were in Chicago and we were demonstrating the consumer version. And these are the 3 lesson plans, or 3 of the lesson plans that were on here. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about the tessellated pancakes with PancakeBot, because this one's very exciting for me. So let's see here. Tessellations are patterns that replicate themselves, and that are, the words actually meant, tessel means to fill up a space with a bunch of little rocks or tiles. And so the person that really put this on the map and made it mainstream was MC Escher. These tessellation patterns have been available, or You can see them in mosques, and you can see them in different buildings throughout the world, mainly in the mosques that were started, I believe, in Persia. So a lot of these tessellation patterns were typically rectangles or squares or geometric shapes. What M.C. Escher did was he actually went through and started putting a lot more figures to these things and doing these things amazingly by hand. And so this software that was developed by Kevin Lee essentially allowed him to make tessellations digitally. So I asked Kevin if he could help us by creating G-code with this G-code tessellation pancakes. And what he did is create this tessellation swan pattern for us. Kevin, you'll have to chime in on the artist on this. I apologize for that. And then we have other patterns right here. There's the tessellation turtle patterns. And you can see that these patterns interlock. This one right here, this lizard pattern, is a little bit hard to see, but there's lizards that were inspired by M.C. Escher. And the last one are elephant patterns. Now, this lesson is a very simple lesson. I'm going to go ahead and do a live demo of this print so you can see how this works. And let me see, I'll stop the share here. Okay, and are we on, and can you see me there? Okay, perfect then. So let's see here. We have the PancakeBot right here. I'll go ahead and just lower it a little bit right here. And so with this lesson plan, essentially, you would simply take the files and print them out. And I'll go ahead and print out some turtles for you. I'm going to go ahead and swap my camera so you can see how this works here. And fantastic. And so when the PancakeBot starts off, it calibrates itself. And now this function is a standard CNC type function. So again, when we're talking about STEAM and engineering and manufacturing, you essentially have a CNC here, a computer numerically controlled machine. The only thing is, instead of drilling, it puts out batter. And so you might be able to hear a hum there. That's the patented Pneumatic System. And a lot of people wonder, why didn't I open source this? And in reality, I wanted a patent because I thought it was very neat to have a patent. But I also felt that if I'm able to protect it, I can put it where it belongs. And that's really why we patented and protected it. But I want to give it as much way to education and those kind of maker establishments. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to select our file here, turn up my griddle. Let's see here. So in this case, we'll make a turtle tessellation pancake. Now you can see that I'm adjusting the pressure as it's going. One of the things that people are very afraid to do when they're making pancakes with PancakeBot is they don't know that they can make these adjustments on the fly. And what you're doing is you're essentially compensating for the variations in the batter viscosity. The batter viscosity changes constantly depending on a wide variety of things, whether it's temperature, heat, whether the batter is cold, and then you have the heat coming off of the griddle here. It also depends on what kind of materials you're using. Obviously, we're using pancake batter right now, but if you use more viscous materials, such as icing or even sand that we were using to print out in Egypt, you obviously need to be able to make those adjustments on the fly to compensate that. From an engineering standpoint, you have a little bit of height right here that as it goes down, the pressure reduces. So sometimes you have to increase, or the pressure of the pancake batter reduces. So you have to increase the pressure a little bit. So these tools are made to compensate for those changes. So this is a very large turtle. And there's a couple of, this is an older file that we have created. There's a couple of changes that you can make to it to be able to enhance the design a little bit. Now, this in particular one is an outline of the pancake of the turtle. And what I would do is have somebody come in, and this is a great way to have kids interact with it, is they can come in and they can decorate I put some eyes on there right there. You can do different kind of designs with it if you'd like. So if you'd like a tiger striped turtle. And so what this does is now it lets the students or experience what it's like to have a machine do something that can be replicated. You can see the patterns are replicated, and then they can come in and customize it. And I believe in this world that we live in now, consumer world kind of thing, that a lot of times it is easier to buy something that's already done, but we really want to customize these things and create our own experiences. So I'm going to go ahead and briefly switch back to this one right here. And so I'll show you. These are the finished tessellation pancakes right here. And so you can see how these tessellation pancakes have interlocked with each other. Something that Kevin pointed out recently was that what's unique about the turtle, and it doesn't so much apply with the pancakes because you have different surfaces, but this is tessellates also. It's a symmetrical tessellation, which allows it to flip right there. So these interlock together. And then you have a swan right here. I don't have the other one, but you can see that the students would be able to go in and look and see, where does this piece go in? Well, this is the tail right here. Where does the nose go in? And it goes over here. So this one tessellates upside down. It tessellates a little bit in the other direction. So it's not upside down, but it tessellates like a mirror. So that's one of the images that you can see there. So you can see these are nice. Oops, I'll eat that later, so it's okay. And so you can see that these are finished up very nicely. And you'll see some of the interesting things about this is that there's color in this one right here, but it's the same batter. And when we talk about science, Pancaketronics discusses the idea of what's the chemistry behind the pancake. If you have less sugar inside of it, you won't caramelize the sugar as much. And so you'll get a wider pancake. Also, if you increase the temperature, you get darker lines right here. So the longer it cooks, the darker it'll get. So PancakeBot allows you to have 4 different cooking times on the software. And so that allows you to understand how chemical reactions will produce different results. But not only the chemical reactions due to heat, due to the amount of material inside of them, etc. So that's really part of the science aspect of what the pancake batter and other materials can do. All right, so we can, I'm going to go ahead and just give this a little flip right here. This looks like something, I guess, you can see this line work, so you don't have to fill it in completely. But what's interesting about this over here, what's interesting about this design is that if you let it cook a little bit longer, you can have this as a garnish to ice cream and make it solid there. And one of the elements that we discuss is the idea of creating an entrepreneurship type of program. So you could add this to a pancake breakfast or a pancake dinner, depending on whatever you're going to make, and create art with it that you can serve, and then your school can make money off of selling pancakes. The main thing that you have to, from my experience of working with the health department, is that typically schools have the right kitchens to be able to do this. So they have the ability to use this PancakeBot as a fundraiser. So that's an element that I'll highlight later on. But then we're going to go ahead and share my screen one more time here. And so you can see now that this lesson right here essentially allows the students to print out the tessellations, and then we'll come down here to the bottom. We have these beautiful designs here that we have permission from Kevin Lee and the artist to use. And then we can take some considerations into thinking from a math perspective. How much area do each one of these patterns fill? If you had a large table and you wanted to feed a lot of people and you wanted them to fill up the table without any space, how many of these patterns could you have on there? And this is a very simple lesson. It's also very fun. And So we'll go ahead and look at the next lesson right here, which is the bytes to bytes, drawing pancakes with G-code. And this is where we want to talk a little bit about more advanced kind of methods when we're talking about STEM initiatives, about the math behind things here. And I will pause my PancakeBot so it's not in the corner there. And essentially what bytes to bytes, as you can see here, the play on words, is it allows students to understand G-code. One of the things that we had done with PancakeBot was essentially, I'll get over here. But one of the things that we had done with PancakeBot was essentially created in such a way that was as open as a consumer product could be. And when I say open, it means that there's a Atmel 2560 chip in there for all you technical people, and that's common to the Arduino Mega. This allows you to upload your own software SDK, software development kit for Arduino. It uses the RepRap firmware on there, so you can go in there and hack it, so you can repurpose your bots for a university level type of activity. And also the G-code is a very easy text file is really what it is. So there's no proprietary kind of file that I'm trying to protect it. I wanted to make it, so that way you can open it up, figure out how it works, and once you're done eating all the pancakes in the world, you can now open it up and do these things. And right here on the physical portion, we use real screws that are easy to take off, and so it's a little hard, but you can actually open it up and see the pneumatic system and see how it works. So these are some of the elements that you might be interested in seeing. How does this thing actually work? And so that's where the openness of the project comes in. And going back to the lesson plan, we're going to just walk through it very briefly here to show you how it works. The idea is that when you go through this lesson, you learn about G-code and what G-code is, essentially a programming language for machines. And then we walk you step by step through all the different Fab Foundation that Dan and the team put together the proper academic vocabulary for this. We also have safety considerations here. Remember that you're dealing with a machine, you're dealing with a hot griddle. And so this is a good reminder for students to always remember safety first, as we would say. I have to say that as an engineer, taking all these safety classes have been very helpful for us because I take safety on a daily basis throughout my life. The lesson plan then goes through different commands that are recognized by PancakeBot, and you can see here how to turn on the extrusion. We've divided it up into how to move it, turn on the extrusion, and turn the extrusion off, and even setting units, so set it to inches or millimeters if you'd like to. And this is where the math comes in, where we're talking about Cartesian coordinates. And the code is as simple as opening up a text file. And so in this particular example, we walk you through the steps of setting up your own G-code file by hand. And the neat thing about it is that we are going through it and let's see here. We're going through it and taking you step by step and holding your hand there through that. So this is the header for the G-code. And as we walk down, we go through the different tasks of setting these things up. And here we have the square pancakes. We give you an example with the Cartesian coordinates. You turn these Cartesian coordinates into the commands, and you can see here where it went right there. Gotta scroll down there. Not sure exactly where it's at though. But you can see here that we've taken the coordinates and turned them into G-code commands, and then when you're done with it, you're able to see the final results of that pancake. So this one is a very fun design and a very fun lesson, and I think kids, students, anybody who's working in fabrication will understand how to go from Cartesian coordinates to G code, and we'll be able to take that into maybe a third dimension and turn it into 3D printing too. And this is what's neat that applies to that. Okay, and we'll go here. And the other lessons, 3D printed extensions is a 3D printed, you print out your own extensions so you can print 2 pancakes at once. And these are Python Turtle, like I said before, is a programming of spirograph pancakes, and then Pancaketronics is the last one here. And then let me see here. Dan, how are we doing on time there? We're kind of,
I think another 2 to 3 minutes, I think, and then we can open the Q&A.
Great, then. Now, one of the things is that I wanted to do this quick demo here of a showtime of holiday prints, and I'm going to do a share here of the Pancake Painter software. And essentially the Pancake Painter software, for you that are interested working with kids, it's a very simple software program. Sometimes it might be too simple, but it's open source and it's available on GitHub. And you essentially have a bottle and a filler. So it's emulating the idea of printing or making your own pancakes by hand. And you're able to bring in images here to be able to make your own images. And in this case, we have 3 little ornaments here. And I'm going to go ahead and run one of those prints. You can see that there's different fill patterns here. And the different fills allow us to switch bottles on it. And I'll go ahead and do a quick print on that. And then from there, while this is printing, we can go into a couple of other things too. So let me switch back to, let's see here. And, but the last thing I want to say before I print those holiday things out is that I want you to think about have the beyond PancakeBot mindset. And the reason is that our relationship with Fab Foundation was essentially to facilitate the donation of extra inventory because these pancake units were produced by a licensee, and our license agreement was terminated this year because we wanted to do something different with it. So these PancakeBots are essentially collector items in the sense that they're the first consumer pancake, or the first consumer printer out in the world. And so you want to be able to think of what other things can it do beyond pancakes. Can you add attachments? Can you have other materials? Can you teach entrepreneurship with this? What other foods can you do? I've done everything from guacamole to making icing and those kind of things. And so, so you can decorate cookies with. And then from an entrepreneurship standpoint, these right here are some of the funnest little drawings that we have, which is essentially a spiral pancakes. And I'll switch over here like that. And it's a little bit too light. But this right here is something that kids can get for themselves or adults, and they can enjoy. These are actually Python created pancakes, so an algorithm created this spiral. And then, of course, you have holidays, and so if anybody's into Easter and they like rabbits, then you can make these things. So you can understand that now you can create a product for your entrepreneurship program or for your Fab Lab in order to raise money to be able to help you out. So while I think the next step is to have some some questions and answers or Q&A, and I'm going to go ahead and print some of these decorative pancakes here, if you don't mind, and then we'll go from there. How's that, Dan?
That sounds great. Thanks, Miguel. So yeah, we can start off with any questions. I believe we've opened up the Q&A window here, that we can either receive questions by people typing them in, or is that the only way we can do questions, Patrice, or can we allow people to speak up?
If they raise their hand, you can click on next to their name and make them a panelist.
People can do that while Miguel is printing.
And as people are sorting themselves with questions, it's like there's one in the Q&A chat actually.
Yeah, how will this be available in schools and districts?
Yes, and so at the top of the call, I made mention that the FAB Foundation, in its partnership with Miguel, is going to be launching a campaign in 2020. And at the top of the year, in that first quarter, we'll be sending out some announcements as to exactly how those are going to work, so that schools and districts are able to get these in their hands. So look out for that announcement at the top of 2020.
Another question was, does the PancakeBot come with software?
The PancakeBot comes with allows you to download, or you can download the software, which is Pancake Painter, online on GitHub.com. Maybe if Dan, you want to bring that up, it's github.com/PancakeBot. It's open source software, and the software just allows you to draw your pancake as you like, based on, if you saw the picture that, the screen share that I did with the ornaments on there. And the neat thing about it is that for advanced students who want to go in there and create their own code, they can actually hack or modify the code also. So it's tried to be as open as possible with the software. So in a nutshell, yes, it comes with its own software, and you can download it for free.
We have another question. Are we able to purchase additional pancake batter bottles?
Patrice, I believe that's, or Sonia, I believe that's a question for the FAB Foundation and part of the campaign for next year. But yes, there are additional bottles that you can get. But I think how those are dispensed or passed out to everybody will depend on what the campaign wants to do with that. So.
And that is correct. And I see that question came from John. John, I feel like you might have at least an extra bottle, since we know you have an extra machine. But all jokes aside, yes, Miguel is correct. We will be announcing all those kinds of details as a part of the campaign in 2020. I see there's another question in the chat from Michael Morales. Would students need an understanding of programming language prior to using it? If not, what is the earliest age range you recommend that students start working with the PancakeBot?
That's an interesting question, because, well, first of all, no, they do not. Come on, Lily. Yeah. By the way, this is my daughter Lily here. Say hi to the world, Lily.
Hi.
She's the one that inspired PancakeBot. She just got home from school, and yeah, well, yeah, you can have a bunny pancake right here. So, yes, and so, but Lily, how old were you when you first started using the PancakeBot?
3.5, about that age.
Well, that was the Lego one, but Charlie uses this, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as, so the answer to that essentially is they don't need to essentially be, you just need to have supervised them. They don't need to have any programming background or anything like that. Essentially, the files are, we can pass out files of different designs, and they can just print them and pretend it's essentially a pancake plotter. And then when they get older or they more experienced, they can also do programming and write those things. But no, you do not need to know programming software. The main thing is safety. You want to make sure that they have a safety mindset, that they are they don't burn themselves and don't get their fingers caught in these belts. They're very loose, so we've never had an incident with that. And that's really the main thing with all machines. So have a safety mindset. So.
Another question was, can these be purchased now?
That's a question for you, for the FAB Foundation team.
Yeah, and again, we will have these available to distribute. Again, Miguel shared earlier that he donated the pancake box to us, so we won't be selling them, but we will be distributing them for donation amounts, and that'll all be announced in our campaign in 2020.
We have a couple more questions. Can you visit our school and community to lead a professional development? There is.
Is that for me or for?
That is for you.
I would love to. We've always been doing different types of events. We've traveled all over the world. Please keep in mind that we are in Norway, and so if I travel to the United States, it would be probably with something with the Fab Foundation that we do as part of an outreach with PancakeBot, and that's something that we've been discussing. But if sometimes it's either me traveling by myself to go out and talk a little bit, or sometimes Lily and Maya also participate and do presentations to inspire young ladies and young children in general about making and that kind of thing. So yes, we do, and maybe we can arrange something as part with the Fab Foundation. I'm not sure if my video has stopped, so I apologize.
It might have. I think there is definitely a delay. We have two more questions. The software support. Three more questions. The software support 2 extruders at the same time, like some 3D printers.
Excuse me? I'm sorry. The software support what?
Does the software support 2 extruders at the same time, like some 3D printers?
Well, one of the Dan, if you bring up that lesson plan with the extension, we can show them that. Essentially, it does not support the ability to control 2 different extruders. You can hack it and add some valves to it. The valves that are part of the system are actually, but you can see right there the picture of Lily and Maya, I think on the header picture right there, it's making 2 pancakes at the same time. And so what that allows you to do then is to double your capacity when it comes to, and that's part of the extension on there. But essentially it's just splitting the airflow in half. And so to make it independent, there's, I believe, some extra I/O ports inside of the board down there, and you can actually hack it yourself to be able to to add a valve or to do some other things like that. So, but right now it only allows control for one airflow, I would say. But you can split that airflow up, but you're essentially going to be duplicating your results.
Another question, what specific file types does the PancakeBot software accept? Images or vector shapes? What file types?
Okay, the PancakeBot software is, I would say, it was actually created by James Todd, and he is a developer that worked with the, what's it called, Watercolor Bot. And he's the father to Zephyr Todd, who created the Watercolor Bot when he was younger. And so his software uses, or the software he created essentially uses a JavaScript object, or what's that, JSON object, and it's written in JavaScript. And in order to accept an image, it's typically a PNG or a JPEG, that kind of thing. But the idea, the reason I'm pointing out that it was written in JavaScript is that it can be, you can go in there and modify it so you can accept SVG or other types of vector files. But right now, the version of it is an older version, and it hasn't been upgraded to be able to accept SVGs or DWGs or the standard type of toolpaths that you get in a CNC type program. But it will accept a PNG and a JPEG, and you can go ahead and transform that line work into actual lines for the PancakeBot. A little more detail there, I'm sorry, but
No, that leads us right up to time. I think we're done with the Q&A section.
okay, let's see here.
Please note that I put the survey link for this webinar in the chat. So if people could fill out that survey for a few minutes of your time, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
And as we wrap up, I know there are a lot of questions about the campaign itself. and getting pancake bots in the hands of everyone. I just encourage you to be on the lookout for a special announcement from the Fab Foundation and the Scopes Project about everything from getting pancake bots to you, to additional bottles, to visits from Miguel, as we're looking forward to partnering with all of you on a really special campaign.
It's 10 o'clock.
And that's my computer telling us it's 10 o'clock. So this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Miguel. And thank you to the Scopes team for putting this all together. And of course, thank you for our network for joining us. This work does not happen without all of you.